Hello and welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras, and before we begin, we want to remind you again that for more of the best content from Israel, sign up today for our streaming platform, ILTV+. Now, coming up in today's newscast, negotiations to end Putin's invasion of Ukraine taking shape along the Belarusian border. Meanwhile, ILTV takes a closer look at the unlikely rising star of this conflict, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskiy. And finally, after a long silence on the conflict, the Arab world responding to Moscow's aggressions. It's now day 5 of the Russian invasion in Ukraine, and negotiations to end the war progressing, albeit slowly, assuming they're at all in earnest. This as Israeli Prime Minister Bennett still vying for a role in the mediations. ILTV reporter Asaf Nissan with the update.
Ukrainian and Russian delegations arriving for high-stakes discussion today in the Gomel region of Belarus. Ukrainian President Zelensky sending the team in slim hopes of negotiating an immediate ceasefire, as well as the withdrawal of Russian forces from his country.
Олександр Лукашенко звернувся до мене, щоб українська та російська делегації зустрілись на річці Прип'ять. Підкреслю, без жодних умов. Скажу відверто, як завжди, я не дуже вірю в результат цієї зустрічі, але нехай спробують. Щоб потім у жодного громадянина України не було жодного сумніву, що я, як президент, не намагався зупинити війну, коли був нехай і маленький, але все ж таки.
Zelensky highly skeptical that anything real will result from the talks, as Putin is the aggressor, and as bombs still falling across the country. Russian forces getting even closer to the capital of Kiev. Further, Belarus is hardly an impartial actor, as they allowed Russian troops to amass and invade through their border with Ukraine. Likewise, the United States accusing Belarus of actively joining Russia's side in the conflict, after Minsk amending its constitution, allowing for Russia's nuclear weapons to be stored there. But whatever the case, Zelensky vowing no capitulation to Russian demands, and making alternate plans for an eventuality in which talks fail. For one, Zelensky asking the European allies immediately admit Ukraine to the EU, and repeating calls from Russian forces to save their own lives and lay down their arms. Now, as for Ukraine's growing allies, many finally graduating their aid from sanctions to military arms, the EU as a whole closing its airspace to Russian airlines and funding weapon supplies for Kiev, and then individually, the US, UK, and many others pledging more. Germany, for one, even reversing its long-standing policy against shipping arms to active conflict zones by promising to transfer some 1,000 anti-tank weapons and 500 Stinger-class surface-to-air missiles to Ukraine. Then, of course, world bodies like the UN also still pushing forward towards their condemnations of Moscow, with the General Assembly and the Security Council holding 2 separate meetings in the hopes of holding Russia to account for its indefensible actions and violations of the UN Charter. Israel, on the other hand, still refraining from direct involvement, reportedly refusing Zelensky's request for military aid and only continuing with humanitarian aid to the war-torn country, as well as coordinating evacuations for Jews and Israeli citizens. Also, Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett repeating offers to broker talks between Kiev and Moscow, now or in the future. Bennett saying that we are 1 hour before midnight, so it's important to find the optimal points for dialogue. Aside from ties to both Russia and Ukraine, Israel also taking into account the significant Jewish population across the two countries, which forces Jerusalem to walk a very shaky tightrope between them.
And now with more on Israel's role in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, spokesperson for the Israeli embassy in Ukraine, Alexandra Ben-Ari. Thank you so much for being with us. Now, first of all, how are you? And what's the latest from the embassy in terms of rescue efforts, etc.?
Good day. We are now on the border with Ukraine and Poland. We're trying to help people to cross the border here. And we have representatives of other embassies, of the Israeli embassies in other countries in Slovakia, Romania, Moldova, and Hungary.
So, how many Israelis are still in Ukraine? How many have left already?
4,000 people left in the beginning when we called everybody to get on the planes and to leave. And we stayed with approximately 8,000 Jews. We think that 6,000 Israeli are still in Ukraine.
To watch full episodes of ILTV's Israel Daily and tons of other content from Israel, visit our website at iltv.tv or download the ILTV Plus app.